didn't recognize the blessings and the relationships that are coming through and the opportunities. So just trying to be humble and aware of those areas. I physically have a vision board. I think that's incredibly important, whether you're a visual kinesthetic learner or not, to put pictures up, write them down. I'll even give you an example. So at the beginning of 2022, or right before the new year, I was creating this vision board, and I put up there on my finance section that I wanted to be a GP on 500 units.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Jonathan Tonks is a mechanical engineer turned commercial real estate investor. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Sam. Happy to be here, man.
Hey, the pleasure's mine. Jonathan, there are 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show. In 90 seconds or less, can you tell me, where did you start? Where are you now? And how did you get there?
Absolutely. I'll do my best to keep it short and sweet, but I started out as a mechanical engineer, like you said, working up into the automotive industry. That's where my family started and was coming from. I was just following in the footsteps of my parents. Had the opportunity when I moved out of the house, graduated from university, to buy my first real estate property. It was a duplex. It's house hacking that one, living in one unit, renting the other. Quickly realized that I wanted to scale that portfolio, and the best way in my eyes at the time to do that was to get into real estate syndications. So I started joining some conferences, mentorships, and different programs that would help me learn the education side and then apply all the knowledge into real-time opportunities. And that is what I'm doing today, is large multifamily syndications all over the country.
That's awesome. What going through mechanical engineering, I guess, what is that, a 4-year degree or is that a 6-year degree? What is that?
The one I did was about 5 years.
Was there ever in that process that idea that, hey, I'm not going to be a mechanical engineer forever?
Oh, yeah. And I didn't know what capacity it was going to be. I wanted more the management route. So my dad had worked his way up the corporate ladder at General Motors, and I saw what type of influence he had at his company. And he started as electrical engineer and worked his way up. So I knew there was some foundation work that I had to build being an engineer, but I always imagined that would turn into a management type role or leadership type role. But again, it wasn't until just in college and trying little micro businesses and then buy my first real estate property, that's when it started to click that I was like, yeah, I'm more of a business minded guy and I want to create. So that's how it transitioned a little bit.
Right. No, and that's that what I've seen, and forgive me if I group all engineers into one box. So I know that's not everybody's personality, but engineers are you're very analytical. Like, you need to understand things, which is great. I appreciate that. I'm very grateful for the engineers in our life, because if we didn't have them, nothing would work. So thank you.
That's partially true.
What now?
That's partially true. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Sometimes find two easy ways of doing it, but
that may be the truth as well. I don't know. But how did you, in that process of going, okay, I'm more entrepreneurially minded. There's, in my opinion, there's a lot of kind of finesse that goes into, there's numbers, and then there's also, hey, I think there's kind of some more subjective parts of this business that we understand, that we say, hey, we can make this work. How have you meshed those two?
Well, that's a great segue into it. Is I started out with the analytical side of learning how to underwrite and learning how the numbers actually work, because I think to be in a business in general, you have to believe in, and to especially be the founder, CEO, you have to believe, you got to be an ambassador for your brand, right? So it started analytically of, okay, the return metrics are something that align with what I would do as a long-term strategy. And then it just hashed out from that to, okay, I really enjoy speaking with people and sharing what we do with others. To be more, my role is now more on the investor relations side and bringing on passive investors to our opportunities. So for me, it became, I had to understand, like you said, how it worked, understand the numbers, and then it transpired into, all right, what are my actual core competencies that I can add value to other people?
What's it been like learning the underwriting models in the multifamily business? I mean, did you get in there? And again, I know everybody's got their own sets of skills, but when you looked at that, did you say, man, there's so much more we could do better on these models, or did you find it to be fairly sufficient?
The ones that I have been using, I thought were quite elaborative and detailed, which for me, it was more at the beginning, I was overwhelmed because it's like, there's so much terminology here that I don't know. Like I thought it like just use a 1% rule and you kind of go from there, but there's so much more than that. And thankfully, I think the partners that I have are so detail oriented on that side of the spectrum, on the underwriting side, that it's really helped me move forward, knowing that they've got quotes for all the expenses and they've got all the relationships with the banking, the financing all set up, all ready to go.
How did you transition from a single duplex into your first multifamily deal?
Yeah, I joined a mentorship program. There's a lot of them out there, but I joined one that just resonated with where I was at. Found a coach through that group. Had been to a lot of conferences just to build some networking and skills in understanding the business. And my coach at that time had given me the opportunity to partner with him on an asset they were taking down. And the only areas where I could truly add value was in raising capital. So that was kind of my shot. He gave me a target to shoot for, and I delivered on that one. So that was my first entrant into the commercial side, thankfully for him. And that's where I've been sticking with it going forward is right in capital raising.
Right. And that is a common entrance, I think, for a lot of people. What are some things you feel like you learned in that process that other people that you feel like other people will learn, but then maybe some things you learned in that process you didn't expect?
Really, Sam, I think the thing I'm continually reminding myself on is how long of a process it actually is to get the track record it takes to be scaling 100 plus units at a time. I thought the first asset that I had that opportunity to raise capital on was, I think, just kind of a godsend in terms of how it went. I had a few investors already kind of watching my progress over my years, people that I've known for a long time. So I wasn't like cold calling people successfully and bringing them on to the investment, but just the patience that it takes to keep getting back up after rejection and people with lots of questions, which are no problem. We love answering them. But, of course, being a results-driven, high-performing individual, you want to just be closing multiple $1 million at a time, and it just doesn't happen like that right off the get-go. You have to build that trust and show that you can deliver.
What are some things you feel like you learned in those, especially in those initial first capital raises? Like, what are some things that you learned in doing that either you feel like you could have done better or that you feel like you did really well?
Yeah, I've had multiple scenarios where because I am more analytical and I see the value and I'm trying to, I guess, ask for the close too quickly is something that I sometimes do. And it's not because I want to pressure people into investing. And I've had people say, I might say no 100 times, but that 101st time I'm going to invest with you. I'm like, that's totally fine. I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. So just whenever you're ready. But there have been times where I didn't prioritize building the relationship first, especially someone I meet for the first time or at a conference. And I go right to, hey, do you want to take a look at our opportunities that we got coming down the pipeline? And it's really changed my perspective over the last 6 to 8 months on focusing on truly building the relationship first. And then if a business relationship comes from it, then that's great.
What are some things you feel like you do now to do that, build that relationship first? Like what when you say that, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's really just starting off getting to know them. So I always call everybody that's shown any interest. So we always start with a call. I love meeting up in person with people. So I have an in-person meetup group every month in our local city. So try to attract people and invite people to that. And even if it's not networking with myself, it's networking with other people in the area that can be beneficial to them. So just trying to give value in different ways that may be different than just a return on investment. So starting with multiple touch points, a few calls in person and just examples.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about you because you're partnering your way to success, which is, I mean, it's a great model. I've got partners like similar to you, and I think a lot of people do all around the country in various assets. Some I've brought other investors to, some I am the investor in, and it's a great way to grow and scale. But I also get shipped a lot of deals that I just say, man, this is not for me, or I just don't like the deal at all. What are you seeing that's coming across your desk, either from your current partners or from maybe your investor group or your mentorship program that you say, man, that's not a good fit for me, if any? And if you do have those, why do you saying no to some of those deals right now?
Actually just had an article that's coming out in a few days that I sent out to everyone on my distribution list about some red flags, just because it's been a topic that's come up quite frequently. And the red flags, not to touch on all of them, but just a few of them that you're asking about, I still see some very aggressive assumptions moving forward in terms of rent growth and not accounting for vacancies. And when people say we've underwritten this conservatively, I think that's kind of the buzzword that everyone uses is conservative underwriting. So, okay, you might, but what other things are you implementing to ensure that you're protecting the team, the investors, all the way through, like capping the interest rates? Did you buy a rate lock? Did you underwrite with a higher exit cap? All these different things that are going to negatively or are going to look negative on the pro forma because it's not full growth for however many years that you're holding it. But just little things like that stand out to me. And then again, this is really difficult, and I try to give back because it was given to me when I first got started. But a lot of younger and new investors in the space that bring us some deals, but don't have the relationships with property management or people boots on the ground. When I get a deal that's for example, just use me. Let's say I gave you, say, a deal. I'm living in Michigan, but this opportunity is in Phoenix, Arizona. I've never been to Phoenix, but I know some guys over there. Would you want to invest with me? Like, I mean, come on, So there's little things like that. It's building those relationships.
Yeah, no, certainly seen a lot of that, and that's and again, everybody. I don't want to talk down or poorly on anything, but the team is the most important part of the deal. And I've said that on this show 1,000 times. 80% of your work should be done on the team. And I see a lot of these deals getting put together, like you're saying, with, this hodgepodge collection of like, wait, who's driving the bus here? Hey, I got this deal, like you said. No, I'm out just because I don't understand the team structure on that. So that's very, very important. Tell me this: when you look to the future and you say, okay, this is where I want to be, what does your business look like in, I don't know, you picked a number, 2, 5, 7 years, whatever it is. Where are you going, Jonathan?
Yeah, we're going to be partnered on $1 billion in assets in the next 5 years. And that's just a personal goal for me. I know there's early talks of developing some other businesses and other companies as well, but sticking to the multifamily syndications, $1 billion in 5 years. Actually, I'll say 4 years since we've been in business over a year. And again, that's going to come down to the relationships we talked about. There's quite a handful of individuals that I've vetted and I've been spending a significant amount of time with that I trust completely and that I would feel comfortable presenting opportunities to. So it's just being positioned well in that space moving forward.
Got it. No, I think that's certainly admirable. I love that. John, and here's a question for you. What are some, as an analytical individual, what are some risks that you see in the multifamily space, if any, right now? Can you kind of quantify some of those and maybe how you guys are mitigating those?
Well, I think there's always risk. Even in the last 3 years, there's been risk. But it's an acceptable amount of risk that we're going to. It's an investment, right? But some of the things that I'm foreseeing in the future, we touched on this with some of the red flags, but just the rate of increase of the rent growth, it probably won't be 25+% annually for the next few years. And I don't think that's terrible moving forward. It's just something we got to be cognizant of. That's a really high level item, but some other risks could be when everything's going good, it's great to see the best in people, but when it's not going the best, you really see if that team that you jump in really quickly with, if they're really made up the type of character and fibers of individuals that are going to be looking out for the best interests of others. So not so much on the analytical side and the underwriting side do I see the most risk. I see it more on, and I can include myself in this, haven't been through 2008 timeframe. I didn't live through that as an investor. I was young at the time. I remember it, but being partnered with people who have gone through things like that and know how to manage expectations and know how to communicate to investors our hope and prayers that we never have to have a capital call that we never miss a distribution, of course, but just making sure that the partners you're with are mature enough to handle those courageous conversations and to be able to do so in a way that's in the best interest of everybody.
Yeah, rent growth. It is interesting to see where rent growth goes, and certainly, the 20-25% sounds a little pie in the sky at this moment. Do you think we'll ever experience rent decreases in markets, and if so, why could that possibly happen?
I could see it in certain markets. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say the Southeast or the Midwest as a whole. I couldn't predict that for you. I know because I grew up in Metro Detroit area that there's certain markets and certain sub-markets that continue to experience negative growth. And that's why we were very strategic about what markets we do choose to invest in. So to answer your question, there's probably a few, but we strategically pick the ones that we believe are going to continue to grow incrementally despite what's happening or stay level.
Right. No, I love it. I think that's great. Jonathan, tell me this. I mean, everybody's got their own ideas of what success is. We've talked about, you having $1 billion in assets under management in 5 years. What are things that you do? What are personal habits that you've instilled in your life that allow you to stay on track and keep what your vision is in front of you?
There's a few things, and I am very much in love with my morning and evening routines, and I try to stick to them as much as I can. But I was actually mentioning this to a good friend of mine the other day that one of the morning routines I do is taking a cold shower. Love cold showers, more so not for the physical benefits. I just love it for the mentality. But some more practical things that I really try to stick to that helps keep my goals on the forefront is just stacking gratitude every morning, doing some journaling and writing and expressing the things I'm really grateful for. It may kind of seem insignificant, but I've been doing it for so many years now that I don't know what my life would be like if I didn't do it and didn't recognize the blessings and the relationships that are coming through and the opportunities. So just trying to be humble and aware of those areas. But also, I physically have a vision board. I think that's incredibly important, whether you're a visual kinesthetic learner or not, to put pictures up, write them down. I'll even give you an example. So at the beginning of 2022, or right before the new year, I was creating this vision board, and I put up there on my finance section that I wanted to be a GP on 500 units. And at the time, I had 60. So I just started. And I'm just writing numbers, right? It's a nice round number. It's a good goal. And I was probably in April, early May, and I still had 60. I'm like, okay, I see the pattern. I'm not growing to get to 500 by the end of the year. And again, that goes back to the patience side, but just looking at it every day, seeing it on my board every morning, not to stress you out or put this overbearing weight on you, but just to remind yourself, like, were you serious about putting that up on the board? And what are you going to do to help it? And cut to like the last few months of the year, we're going to surpass 600. And I mean, that's pure manifestation in my mind to have that on the board and to see it coming through.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredibly helpful. And I think you hit on something that a lot of people experience, which is that when you see an unmet goal, it's like, oh crud, like I didn't get this done yet. Like, man, I'm stinking. But I think and hopefully we all set goals that at some point maybe are a little bit loftier than what's completely achievable. But I think you touched on how you don't get down about that by, what'd you call it, stacking gratitude.
Gratitude, yeah.
That's really, really cool. I love that. Do you journal that out? Do you put that in? You actually physically write it down every day?
Yeah, I have two separate journals. One is for business ideas or interesting comments that I hear on a podcast or that I hear in person. But then I have another journal it's just 5 lines each morning, 5 things I'm grateful for. And I try not to be like too broad. I try to be very specific. Something that's happening so that it's different every day. For the last 5 years, I don't think I've written the same thing that I've been grateful for once. So I don't think I've ever repeated. I'm trying to be very intentional. And it doesn't have to be 5. It could be 2 or 3, but trying to encourage yourself those days you aren't grateful and aren't looking forward to the day, just find something. No.
That's it, man. Yeah, and I don't know how you do that because I tried that at one point. I followed your footsteps a little bit in that I went like 12 or 18 months where I wrote down something I was grateful for, but I found myself every day like going, huh, like health. Yes, always grateful for health. So it's like health made it to the.
Yeah. Well, it's really a skill when you think about it. When you can develop the skill to see the good things, and not just from like a naive, optimistic view. It's like, let's look for things and let's get out of the state that it's all about consumption and it's all about me and I'm not hitting my goals. It's like, you're not there yet, but you will. So let's find something to be thankful for today, right?
And that ties directly into seeing and seizing on opportunity. I think any time that you can see and seize the gratitude that's there, express gratitude for the things that are in your life, it also allows you to then turn around and go, okay, there's opportunity out here, and kind of opens up your eyes to maybe some things that if you're looking from a gratitude perspective is like, man, I'm really grateful for the people in my mentorship group. Oh, wait, look, here's the guy in the mentorship bringing a deal to me with, 200 units. And there you went from 60 to 2, whatever it is. I mean, those are, I think those are all uniquely connected in some capacity. And certainly, gratitude is something that I think all of us could probably use more of in our lives. So this has been loads of fun. I've loved hearing your story, especially going, starting out this year at 60 units. And now you said you're going to crest 600 before the year's over.
Yeah, we'll pass 600.
Congratulations, man. That's 10X. Grant Cardone would be proud of you. 10X in
we're coming for him. We're going for him.
Or is that somebody else? I don't know. Either way, I probably butchered it either way, but certainly love hearing your story, how you have partnered your way to success, how you have found a way to take down 600 units this year, going from mechanical engineer and approaching this from an engineering perspective, but then also finding ways to kind of set some of the analytical sides aside, and then also bring in some of the more subjective sides of this business and how you've incorporated all that. Certainly loads of fun. I appreciate you coming on today. Jonathan, if our listeners want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, best way, pretty active on LinkedIn. So just my name, Jonathan Tonks on LinkedIn, or you can go to our website. We have all the previous deals you can take a look at, as well as some valuable content, like I mentioned, in a few days, coming out with some more information. That website's just called provisionspace.com. It's my website, and I'd love to talk with you there.
Awesome. We'll make sure we include that there in the show notes as well, provisionspace.com. Jonathan, thank you again for coming on the show today. I do appreciate it.